episode of the Now Showing podcast, where I take a look at films that are now showing in theaters and give my thoughts. First up on the list today is Marlowe, the detective noir that comes from director Neil Jordan, who co wrote the script here with William Monahan. It's also based on the famous book centering on the 1930s detective Philip Marlowe. All that portends something that should be good. The cast here includes Liam Neeson as Marlowe, Diane Kruger, and Jessica Lange as the femme fatales at the heart of this case. And again, the pieces are in place for a winning formula. That's what makes it all so disappointing. The pieces are here, but they never quite come together into anything that's worth the effort. I liked the period style, the way the film was put together. I enjoyed the scene chewing supporting roles from Alan Cumming and Danny Houston, among others. But it's the case at the center of the mystery and the way it unfolds that just doesn't work. Neeson's fine in the lead role here, and there's a lot going on, but none of it resolves in a very satisfying fashion. It leaves a somewhat dull and lifeless finished product. Marlowe is now playing in theaters. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. It just didn't quite click for me. Next up is the documentary The Other Fellow. What's in the name? Does it define your life? That's the question at the center of this new documentary, The Other Fellow. In it, filmmaker Matthew Bauer looks at the people worldwide who share the name James Bond. While we know Bond from Ian Fleming's novel and the myriad of films over the years, many around the world carry that name and have no connection to the British government's most prolific asset. This film interviews those men and tells their stories, explores how they connect to the world and how James Bond has impacted their lives. The stories of those interviewed vary. Some are proud to share the name and even want to be like James Bond. Others see it as an inconvenience. For some, it even feels like a curse, even if they found a way to profit from it. The film shares a bit of the history about the origin of the character name, but mostly it's about the people that share that name and what it's meant for their lives. Bauer does a nice job of putting it together. He helped craft the script with Renee Van Penef, and it has a nice feel for these people exploring the lives and telling their stories. Some of them are actually quite emotionally engaging. As a longtime fan of the Bond franchise and someone who has experienced sharing a name with a famous Hollywood star, I was drawn to this idea and story. I enjoyed the way it was told and getting to know the real men behind the name James Bond. For those who are fans of documentaries or just fans of the James Bond franchise, I think this is worth giving a shot. It's now playing in select theaters. I gave it 3 stars out of 5. The final film I'm going to look at this week is the new streamer Sharper, which dropped on Friday on Apple TV Plus after a brief theatrical run. Stories that are built on cons are tricky. You have to build the characters and build the layers without giving away where you're going. In the case of Sharper, you get a timeline that is all out of order. It's a unique process meant to introduce you one by one to the key players. There are a number of different cons at work here, with each of the key players taking turns betraying each other in pursuit of a big score. How will it turn out? That's what's at play in a film that twists and turns before coming to a third act reveal. There's a solid cast here, and the performances are fine, but there's nothing overly special about these characters or the way the story is engaged. The mystery and the way the script is laid out keeps you somewhat engaged, but the real at the end is just okay. It works, but it's not totally unexpected. In the end, Sharper has plenty of potential, but ends up missing the mark for me in terms of becoming something memorable or something great. I ended up giving it 3 stars out of 5. As I mentioned, it's now streaming on Apple TV Plus. For fans of the genre, it might be worth checking out. I just thought it could have been a little bit better. But that's going to do it for me today. And for the new movies that are out this President's Day weekend, be sure to tune in tomorrow night as Eric and I will look at Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, as well as the rest of the Ant-Man films in the franchise during the At the Movies podcast. That'll take place at 7 Eastern. Until then, enjoy a great